Joining us now, Andy Bailey, Bleacher Report writer, covers the NBA, does a tremendous job, good friend of the program. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I was just about to say Kid Rock's getting in shape.
Yeah.
The video tells me.
I don't want to see him and Kennedy in like a hot tub together. That was just weird. I mean, the whole
Drinking
thing
milk,
was just
of all
weird.
things.
What's that?
I think they were drinking milk in the hot tub.
Oh, yeah, they were drinking whole. And make it worse, whole milk in the hot. I mean, just. Yeah, I can't defend that. That was bad. Okay,
it's not great. All right, also not great. The Jazz get a $500,000 bill from the NBA saying you're tanking and doing things that has been going on for 40, 50 years in the league. What made the Jazz all of a sudden become the poster boy for what's wrong in the NBA?
I wish I had an answer for that question. This is all we've heard about from every national podcast, TV show, whatever, on the NBA for the last week, 2 weeks, that tanking is like an existential crisis for the NBA. If they don't fix it now, the supposed results are insane. And I've just been scratching my head the whole time wondering why now, why the Jazz. The whole thing seems kind of ludicrous to me. I guess the answer that I've come to, at least in terms of why it's tanking up, is everyone I think would agree across the board that this looks like a really, really good incoming draft class. And sometimes you have those. And throughout NBA history, really good incoming draft classes have spurred a little more tanking. So this is something we all should have seen coming. Utah wanting to lose games, if they do, I'm sure they'd never admit that, but if they want to lose games, that's in the best interest for their franchise. A lot of the ideas to, quote, fix tanking don't do that, in my opinion. All they really do is just make it even harder for small market teams that already have an uphill climb in the NBA. I just find this whole discussion overblown and kind of ridiculous, honestly.
And I agree with you 100%. And, and then I don't know if you saw this. It's on ESPN.com. Hopefully, I'm sure Bleacher Report probably has it up too. But Ishbia, the owner of the Suns, has come out and said that tanking is losing behavior done by losers, much worse than any prop bet scandal. And then he goes on, this is ridiculous. Tanking is losing behavior done by losers. Purposely losing is something nobody should want to be associated with. Embarrassing for the league and for the organizations. And the talk about this as a strategy is ridiculous. If you're a bad team, you get a good pick. That makes sense. But purposely shutting down players, purposely losing games is a disgrace and impacts the integrity of the whole league. You know what? I think none of us disagree with that per se, but This has been an ongoing issue, not only in the NBA, but, the NFL to some extent. As long as you have a draft, you want to get better, and sometimes when your team stinks, you got to get better through the draft. And Ishbia is only owned the team, Andy, a couple years? So, and I know he's not in a tanking position right now. They're in a playoff position. But, talk to me in 5 years when he needs a marquee player. You know what I mean?
He loves just grabby quotes, I think. And, frankly – his team has exceeded expectations, and the front office and the coaching staff deserve credit for that. But if they had performed, I think, the way many of us anticipated, they would have leaned into a tank too. Every single organization in the league is open to this. I don't care what forward-facing public comments you have. Every single owner and front office is open to this. And again, specifically in the NBA, when the haves and the have-nots in terms of market and glamour and that kind of stuff, I think the gap is bigger in the NBA than it is in any other professional sports league. The only way for some of the smaller market teams to kind of keep pace with these bigger ones that have a bunch of built-in advantages is to get stars through the draft. And the way to get stars through the draft is to be bad for a few years. And the other thing that's funny about making the Jazz the scapegoat for this is, I haven't done this in a little bit, but if I were to look up combined winning percentage over the last 30 years, I would bet the Jazz are in the top 5.
Yep.
Anytime they are bad, it lasts for 4 or 5 years. Now, they may be at the end of that cycle right now, they have been bad for a little bit, but this is not it's not like they're the Sacramento Kings or the Washington Wizards, who have a tradition of losing, frankly. This is an organization that's been a picture of stability for years and years and years. And the decision they made a few years ago to start over, to trade Mitchell and Gobert and get a bunch of assets, was probably the right one. They haven't had a lot of luck in the lottery since then. But they were doing at that point what was best in their franchise, what was in the best interest of the franchise, and they're still doing that now. And to try and say that they're like leading the charge to destroy the integrity of the league is just crazy.
So let me ask you this: is there if the Jazz would have 2 days before listed Jaren Jackson on the injury report, listed Larry Markkinen on the injury report, and just absolutely shut them down and not played them, instead of playing them and then sitting them out in the fourth quarter, would there have been an issue? And because of the fact that, hey, there may be some guys over at DraftKings or FanDuel that don't like you messing with prop bets in the middle of a game and shutting guys down in the fourth quarter, is it a lot of how the Jazz did it instead of why they did it?
I think there's something to that, and I'm glad you brought up the gambling companies. I was thinking that earlier, and I just lost track of my thoughts. That's obviously a big part of this. The NBA is so intertwined with these daily, sports books and prop bets and all this stuff that we're just completely inundated with. I'm sure that has something to do with the backlash. And yes, if Utah had just, I guess, more unabashedly tanked and shut everyone down a few days earlier, maybe they don't get they definitely don't get the backlash that they got. It's because bettors saw that certain guys were playing, and that influences bets that they make, and then things change if those players don't play in the fourth quarter. When Utah could very easily, and they may have come up with these explanations after the fact, but I do think they're reasonable. They said that, these guys are coming off injuries, they have minutes restrictions, we have young guys that we want to get experience in the clutch. All those are real things, especially for a rebuilding team that wants to see what it has in its young guys going forward. So for Adam Silver to, make the issue that he did out of it and preach about it, and then for all the media to kind of follow his lead, I've probably said this word 5 times now, but it's just ridiculous to me.
Andy Bailey, of course, Bleacher Report. Read his stuff on the Bleacher Report. Great NBA stuff, and at 97.5 KSL Sports Zone. So, Andy, tell me about it. I look at this with Adam Silver, and I just see a puppet. I see a guy that doesn't have a spine. I see an individual that, yes, the gambling companies are going to complain, but I'm pretty sure the gambling companies, when they went into business NBA, know that tanking's a possible issue. I see that, anybody, honestly, that's gambling on the Jazz in the fourth quarter and doing prop bets, it's a complete idiot anyways. I mean, who does that? Like, why would you – I mean, they're going to tank. So, like, why would you even put money in there? What I don't understand, and I know there's millions, but if you have a spine, if he's a David Stern type, or if you're a leader of any business and anybody that spends money with you steps up and says to you, well, look, I don't like this. You know what? I'm sorry. You know what? You should turn around and tell that company and say, oh, you know what? You stand down. You know what you're getting into here, guys. So you adjust. Why does the NBA have to adjust? I guess that's my thing.
I think you'll make several good points in there. Adam Silver's tenure has been fascinating to me, because if you just look at it from a real zoomed out dollars and cents perspective, it's hard to say that he's done a bad job. I mean, they just signed this massive TV deal. Player salaries have exploded under him. Franchise valuations have exploded under him. And he's ultimately in the business of making money for the owners, and he's done that. So in that degree, he's been a success. I think that he has it just seems like he has this constant desire to be liked by the players. I think that's made him kind of soft on a number of issues involving them. I think maybe he is a little bit soft with the owners, I think is what you're alluding to too. I mean, all these guys know what they're getting into when they buy a team. It's the life cycle of almost every organization in the league. At some point, you're bad for a few years. And the reason the draft is there is it can bring you out of that cycle. It's just part of the cycle. I could go on and on and on about the issues under Silver. I think officiating has gotten worse. I think flopping's gotten worse. There's a bunch of smaller problems that I could nitpick over and over and over, but it's hard to look at it and say, oh, he's on the hot seat. And I think there are guys who can maybe make the on-court product a little bit better because he's just making the owners billions of dollars. And that's ultimately what he's there for.
I don't know if you heard his 4-minute and 30-second reasoning as to why the Jazz got singled out or the overall thought on tanking, but it felt like my response to that felt like the principal in Happy Gilmore, where it's like, none of this made sense. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and may God have mercy on your soul. It made no sense. It was circular. He said, well, we're doing it for the fans, but also the fans know that, you don't want to be stuck in the middle, so they understand it, and sometimes they're all about it. But again, we're doing it for the fans. This is a guy that just says, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. I've got Oklahoma City barking at me because they want that Jazz pick. I've got gambling companies yelling at me. I've got players wanting this. I got owners saying this. I don't know, guys. So I'm picking on Utah because they're like an easy dog to kick. So I'm just going after them. So can you just leave me alone?
Yeah, he should have had you write the comment out because you got out what he was really saying a lot quicker. While you were talking, I remembered somebody over All-Star Weekend saying that he talks mealy-mouthed, which I agree with. And it was Dan Wolkin from Yahoo Sports, and it was in response to a quote. Somebody asked him about Giannis's partnership with Kalshi, and it was once again just like a circular answer that doesn't actually get to the heart of the question or the heart of the matter. He's kind of a master at saying a lot of words without saying anything, and it's one of the things that frankly bugs me about him. And if you can't tell by my tone, I do think there are ways to improve the product and people who may be better at that than him. But it's just, again, he's made so much money for these players and these owners that he's probably not going anywhere anytime soon.
And it cracks me up. It's the owners, by the way. I mean, it's their teams that are doing the tanking. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It drives me crazy.
Protect us from ourselves. Please.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Right. But he's not. I mean, yeah, he did it to Ryan Smith. Well, I almost kind of argue Ryan Smith's an easy target because he's a newer owner. Maybe doesn't have the cachet of the other owners in the league. So yeah, we'll go after him. And honestly, I loved Ryan Smith's tweet. But I would love for Ryan Smith, I wouldn't say go Mark Cuban, but I would love for him to be that new generation of owner to start standing up a little bit. At least when Larry Miller was the owner of the Jazz, I mean, he had a good relationship with David Stern. Yeah, Stern wasn't always fair to the Jazz, but he listened to Larry H. Miller. I mean, they were friends. And I almost want Ryan Smith to say, all right, let's go. Let's bring it.
I thought the way that he clapped back a little bit was very appropriate. And I agree with you. There needs to be an owner or a handful of owners who are willing to kind of spar with the commissioner, because that his role specifically, Adam Silver's, has so much power. I mean, there's a lot of things in the CBA and the NBA Constitution where he is judge, jury, and executioner. So I think it's important for there to be some hint of a check and balance from the owners.
And Andy Bailey, by the way, joining us from Bleacher Report 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Andy, the other element to this, too, is that the Jazz essentially at the trade deadline said, we're done tanking. Outside of this year, the Jaren Jackson trade was a huge symbol like, hey, we're out of it, and we're going all in, and we're just going to finish off this year, hopefully get a top 3 pick, and we're back to winning next year. Maybe that probably played into it, too, because there's other teams around the NBA seeing the Jazz and like, uh-oh, they just got a 2-time All-Star, 26 years old, that still has 4 years left on the contract, and if they get a top 3 pick, they might be a 5-4 seed next year.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. They did signal that they're going to be competitive. You don't make that trade if you're not looking to start winning games very soon. And I could anticipate someone responding to that take by saying, well, they got Jaren Jackson because they knew he was hurt and they were going to shut him down for the season and tank anyway. Well, what did the Washington Wizards do? Or what are they currently doing with Trae Young and Anthony Davis? What are the Pacers doing with Ivica Zubac? And I know that the Pacers are another team that got fined, but somehow theirs was worth 20% of what Utah's behavior was. there are so many teams that are tanking or who have tanked in recent years, and there are teams that have done it the same way Utah did. They made a big fuss about how they just played those guys the 3 quarters and then sat them in the 4th. That's not, totally unusual either. I saw somebody post rotations from some teams earlier this year that did it. I know the Raptors did it last year. It was just kind of ridiculous it's almost like he threw all the tanking teams into a hat and pulled the Jazz out and said, okay, they're the ones I need to try and make an example of. I mean, that's as good an explanation as I can come up with.
If Adam Silver gets bounced and Andy Bailey is named commissioner of the NBA, do you do anything about tanking? I mean, do you have any ideas that? Is there anything you even do, or do you just say, all right, let's just be authentic about this. This is how it is. Go ahead.
I think I probably do the latter. And I had a talk with some people over All-Star Weekend about this, and I think it's just one of those years where tanking is going to be a little bit more dramatic than it is in others because everybody's freaking out about this draft class, understandably so. I think if I were to do one thing, and I actually was pretty optimistic about flattening the lottery odds, I would probably go back to whatever they were before. The top 3 teams all had the same chance at number 1, and the top 5 essentially have the same chance. All that's done is increase the number of teams who think they can get the top pick. So I think if you go back to the old odds, maybe you curtail tanking a little bit, but it's always going to be a part of sports. Like you said earlier, it's not just the NBA. This is in every league with the draft. And I think there are much more pressing issues for the NBA. I think there's some watchability things that they could fix within 2 weeks that they never talk about. I think the gambling stuff is a bigger deal than tanking. I think the fact that you have players who are fixing prop bets is a pretty dang big deal. The fact that you had a coach potentially participating in illicit poker games, there are a lot of issues with the NBA, and tanking to me just it's not worth the outcry that it's gotten.
Andy, appreciate it as always. Great stuff. Here soon, we'll actually talk about real basketball. By the way, Kevin.
Hey, I saw it. Woohoo! Stand up, America.
We're tied up. Team USA got the equalizer. We're 1-1.
I saw it. Don't worry, Andy. I was paying attention to you still, but yep,
yeah,
2:04 left in the game. We got it. We're up. We're not up. We're tied.
Well,
so
yeah, there you go.
We have the momentum. God bless America.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Andy, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.